Hello everyone, so I just got back from screening of The Boogeyman. This movie is rated PG-13. It's about an hour and 40 minutes long, directed by Rob Savage, and it comes from the mind of Stephen King, of course, based off of his works of The Boogeyman. So the main star in this is Sophie Thatcher, who I know from the Yellow Jackets series. So I was excited to get into this one. The trailers looked kind of like it could go either way. I wasn't too certain about it. The posters were for this movie were absolutely amazing, so I got really excited, but also cautious for it. But yes, now that I've seen it, without further ado, let me get into my review for The Boogeyman. So the IMDb synopsis of this is horror mystery thriller. Still reeling from the tragic death of their mother, a teenage girl and their younger sister find themselves plagued by a sadistic presence in their house and struggle to get their grieving father to pay attention before it's too late. So kind of with that synopsis plays into why I thought this movie kind of felt very generic and very predictable in a lot of ways. You've seen most any other paranormal or again to just demon type horror movie, and you've seen this film. It takes all the things that make those movies good in a sense, and the horror aspects from it and a lot of the jump scares, puts them into this movie that again too can be effective in a lot of ways, which I'll kind of get into a little bit. But the overarching story of this is very predictable to see where the characters' relationships with one another are going to go, when they're going to break apart, when they're going to come together, again to what's going to trigger them, and of course trigger this presence known as the boogeyman to come and get them. And even to right at the start of this film, the movie wants to let you know that no one's safe, not even kids, from what the boogeyman can do. The first, again, to like minute of this movie is actually pretty brutal, but then it just never has that same presence of fear and brutality throughout the rest of the movie, which again, too, just kind of weighs it down, and it went to this very family like predictable story about again to this family just trying to make it out alive of their home. Again, too, like I said, there's times where the movie's very effective in what it does. It makes a really cool use of its lighting effects, where there'll be, again, to scenes where lights will flicker on and off, and just the way that they're able to, again, to show these stalking figures over top of the characters. And again, too, that have it play into the horror was pretty good. It has a decent soundtrack for the most part, but it is very effective in, again, to building on that suspense of that horror. But I just found a lot of this time this movie would build, and then you would get the jump scare, you'd get the fake out, all of that exactly when you would expect it. It didn't really do anything different in these, again, two techniques of horror to get me off of my seats. There was only really one scare that, again, too, it was a jump scare. It was the only one that caught me off guard or just didn't see coming in the moment. It did a really good job of, again, too, just dialing you into the conversation, the relationship of the characters, and then coming at you. So that was the one effective one that's, again, too, made me at least maybe sit up in my seats a little bit. But nothing in this movie did kind of get to me horror wise or play with my mind and anything, again too, because it was just very predictable. You're able to see when the events were going to happen and exactly how they're going to play out through the entirety of this movie. The acting too is pretty decent for the most part. It's the two daughters and both sisters are definitely the best part of this movie when it comes to the acting. And I get to it's not enough to really carry this movie in a lot of ways, but again too, even though the movie is very simple in its premise, it is executed very well in enough parts that kind of make me want to give this at least my minimum recommendation if you are a fan of the horror genre. If it's something that you can't, or if the genre of horror isn't something that you can really get into too easily, it's not your cup of tea, whatever you want to call it, I don't think this one is going to win you over in any way. But if you're a fan of it, there are some elements that, again, too, I think can make a lot of people happy, excited at moments of this film. So with further ado, I'm gonna have to give The Boogeyman a 6 out of 10. Again, too, it's decent, nothing mind-blowing, nothing over the top scary, but there are some cool elements and cool inspirations that are taken within this story that, again, too, I can at least give it my minimum recommendation for horror fans. So if you've seen The Boogeyman, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. And of course, if you liked this review, definitely give it a thumbs up, and you can check out everything I do on the channel through my playlist down below, and I'll link some up top here for convenience sake. Thank you for subscribing and turning that little ringer on so you know when I upload new videos. If you want to check out the description of this video or my channel bio, there's a link to the Media Mountain here, the Media Mountain, which is my Discord, where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, pretty much everything that's awesome in this world. So you can definitely join that amazing community, help make it even more amazing than it is already. And yeah, just awesome, guys.